Critical Focus channel.
Hello and welcome to this review of the Knives of the Crone. As always, a big thank you to Games Workshop for sending me a review copy of this warband to paint up, play and review for all of you. So let's split this up in some segments. First, let's talk lore. It's going to be rather brief for you purely competitive players out there. And then let's talk models and what my experience with painting them up was. Then let's talk fighter cards, and lastly the war scroll, and then some closing thoughts as well. Fanatical believers in the creed of the prophetic goddess Moriheg, the Knives of the Crone exist to serve fate's will. They are led by the seer Carnavix, who reads the viscera of slain foes to glean her deity's desires. A cadre of killers ensure Vix's visions come to pass. Tazari is Carnavix's strong right hand, while Krieta eagerly butchers those who draw her master's gaze. Finally, the arbalist Aswell stands ready to put a crossbow bolt through distant foes. So Moriheg is the elven goddess of death and fate, and she actually also exists within the 41st millennium, where she is the mother of banshees and gifts the Eldar with the gift of foresight. Well, I'm not going to delve much deeper in the lore than that, but recently another model tied to this part of the Daughters of Cain camp emerged with Crethusa the Crone Seer, who is somewhat at league with Morathi, so this part of the army can be seen as a renegade detachment. Well, moving on to the models. On Facebook and Reddit so far I've seen both highs and lows in terms of the love for these models. Obviously I think it's great that we finally have a non-legend Daughters of Cain warband, even if I would very much like to see one of the past ones make a return as well. Morgwaith's Blade Coven not least, in my opinion. I share the sentiment of a lot of people that there is something a little bit derpy about the faces of these sculpts, and I did indeed struggle myself to really make them look decent. I am, of course, a very average painter at best, nor am I very patient, but it was somewhat of a chore more than usual to finish them, something I normally don't feel with my Underworlds warbands. I think the Arbalest looks absolutely fine, almost on par with the one from Shadeborn, but the rest falls short in my book. The leader's sort of lazy, spooky hand looks a bit lame. It doesn't really do it for me, and yeah, I'm not really feeling the other ones either. That being said, I had absolutely no issues putting them together. They all went together fine. There's a lot of small details though, so they are not the most beginner friendly of models, and a far cry from something easier like a Stormcast or an Orruk, for example. Let's move on to what you are all here for, the mechanics. Let's take a look at the fighter cards first. The leader Carnavix is sporting 4 move, 2 dodge, 4 health, and is worth a bounty of 2. She hits from range 1 for 2 hammers, 2 damage. Totally acceptable stats, nothing really spectacular. Flip side, she gains a single hammer for a very accurate 3 hammer attack, but still only for 2 damage without any special effects, which maybe is a bit lackluster for a leader model in such a small warband. Moving on to Aswell, he is sort of the least exciting member of the warband with 4 move, measly 1 dodge on 3 fragile health for 1 bounty, and a very inaccurate range 1 attack that hits for 2 swords 1 damage, and from range 3 he hits for 3 swords 1 damage. 3 swords is also a bit less good now in Embergard than it used to be when crit fishing was more vital. Flip him over and he picks up 2 crucial dodge, but he won't have an easy time inspiring, but more on that later on. He now hits in melee for 2 damage, 1 damage, and range 3 hammers 1 damage, which is a huge update from the 3 swords previously, if you can get him inspired, that is. 2 bad ranged attacks are so bad in Embergard with no grievous on them. Let's move on to Krieta, who is 4 move, dodge 1, 4 health, 2 bounty. She will have an easier time to inspire though, hitting for 4 swords, 1 damage. Inspired, she crucially picks up 2 dodge, 2 hammers, and apparently learns to fly as well mid-battle. I always find these types of inspires a bit weird. Are the wings sort of a prototype construction she's trying out for the first time? I don't really get it. Anyway, 4 swords, 2 damage is solid, so let's move on to the last member. Tatsari is 4 move, 1 dodge, 4 health for 2 bounty. She has a solid range 1 attack for 2 hammers, 2 damage, just like the leader. Alternatively, she can opt to extend her glaive, I guess, to range 2 for 3 swords, 1 damage. Inspired, she picks up that crucial second dodge, just like the rest, and her attacks gets merged into that very solid range 2 hammers, 2 damage instead. And she also picks up flying inspired, which I totally missed in our game. But anyway, let's now visit the rather complex war scroll of this Mastery warband. I'm not gonna start with the Inspire here because that would sort of be confusing. I'm rather gonna start with the Rituals of Prophecy. So at the start of the first action step in a round, do note the first, not your. So regardless of who goes first, it happens, if you want it to happen. Anyway, at the start of the first action step in each battle round, you can make a prophecy roll. So you roll 4 attack dice. If the roll contains one of the results of the prophecy table, more on that later, that prophecy is foretold. If the roll contains 2 different results on the table, both of these prophecies are foretold. If you roll 3 of the same symbol, you can pick one prophecy from the table. That prophecy is foretold. If you roll 4 of the same symbols, you can pick 2 different ones. Both of these prophecies are foretold. If the roll contains any crits, you can replace each crit with another symbol of your choice. So crits are wildcards. When a prophecy is foretold, immediately use its ability. So before we look at the list, let's add as well that you also get to roll on this list each time you successfully attack with a friendly fighter via the Visions in the Blood ability. So the list then. If you roll 2 swords, that equals the next time you make a melee attack this round, that weapon has critical grievous for that attack. So crit grievous doesn't mean that it replaces any of the weapon ability that attack had already. It just means it gets added to your options for that attack. You can never use more than one weapon ability, of course, unless otherwise stated. Do note that this means you can't save the crit grievous you get from this. It automatically gets added to your next attack, regardless if you want it or not. Then it goes away. This is a nice buff, sure, especially since none of the fighters gets regular grievous and none of them gets that crucial 3 damage. It's a poor man's replacement though, and while Lisp wingy, I guess Kreta is the most likely to land it, but it is also the least likely result for you to roll in the table. 2 hammers instead means that you immediately look at the top card of your objective deck and then choose to put that card top or bottom. This is the best buff for sure. I mean, it's not really a buff, but the objective deck manipulation this offers is very, very good, and you're gonna roll this quite a lot. The last ability is called Foretold Protection, and it triggers on the following combinations: flanked, flanked, surrounded, surrounded, or flanked, surrounded. So any support symbols for you old timers. And it means on your next save roll, you can re-roll 1 dice. Same here, you can't save the re-roll, it automatically gets added to your next save roll. Once you get inspired on a couple of fighters, this is going to be pretty sweet. I don't value a single reroll on 1 dodge very much, but on 2 dodge it starts to get pretty good, especially if you can get a guard token out or just place yourself on a cover hex. The Inspire lastly happens if you roll on the prophecy table after successfully attacking and land the Foretold Wisdom result. That is the 2 hammer one, where you get to look at the objective card and place it top bottom. With crits being wild cards, this is very easy to roll in my experience. I guess the issue is landing attacks for fighters like Aswell and pretty much anyone if you're going up against 2 defense heavy warband like Beast Grabbers or what have you. And without gaining that second crucial dodge, they will be turned into a heap of bloody feathers rather fast. So my final thoughts: given the lore of the warband, I would have liked to see the leader have a more pivotal role in the prophecy scrying, rather than it triggering after any attack and then inspiring that specific fighter. Being able to decide who to inspire as long as she's on the board or something like that could have been a more desirable solution in my opinion. They are not branded as an aggro warband, but their inspire mechanic very much sort of forces you to be aggressive, to be able to then later be defensive, I guess, and there's just something a bit off with that in my opinion. That being said, I had a lot of fun playing them, but that might have been in part to the fact that I landed 3 out of 3 attacks in the first round, even the poor 2 sword attack with Aswell, and that obviously helped out massively. But that's certainly not gonna be the case every time you play, and I am just a bit weary on how they'll fare in those games. Well, that is it for the review of the Knights of the Crones. Will you be picking these ones up? What do you think of the models, the lore, the mechanics? Let me know in the comments down below. Make sure to like the video if you liked it. I am out. Have a great rest of your day. Bye. Lastly, a big shout out to all my members that help support my content and makes it so much easier for me to produce multiple videos on a weekly basis. Members do get access to the member Discord, get to influence the content, get early access to a ton of videos, as well as get featured in the monthly painting showcase if they want. Member or not, I dearly appreciate the like, the comment and the subscription.